Welcome after the break, colleagues. We shall now continue with amendments to the annual teaching plans. And let's start by reminding one another that these recovery ATPs were developed for home languages as well as first additional languages, multi-grade as well as technical, occupational and vocational. For home language and first additional languages, we developed it for English and Afrikaans, as well as the Sesotho languages, the Nguni languages, Shivenda and Xitsonga, as well as South African language, as well as South African Sign Language. And it was developed and distributed in those languages. With multi-grade, however, the ATPs were developed exclusively in English, and that is the case with technical, occupational and vocational as well, only developed in English. Briefly, what the changes entailed, I shall break it down into 5 major issues. Number 1, grade 7 and 8, we had an issue there with response to text, which was specific reference to mark allocation that has been reviewed. The mark allocation for that task in term 1 was changed to 60 to correspond with the mark allocation for response to text task for grade 7 and 8 to correspond with how it looks in terms 2 and 4 respectively. Secondly, the second major change related to semesterizing of literature. Basically, what we did there is that in semester 1, we do poetry plus 2 genres, and in semester 2, poetry plus the other 2 genres. In semester 1, we packaged short stories and novel, and in semester 2, we packaged folk tales as well as drama or short plays. The next major change that we brought about relates to oral activities. During revised ATPs 21 to 2023, some oral activities were removed to observe COVID protocols. All those were group activities, and during this process, we brought those oral activities back because we regard them as imperatives and priorities of our subject. Then of significance also is that in term 3, a project is being administered, and the content in term 3 did not speak to that project, so we worked with that project content in term 3 so that it speaks to that project which is administered in term 3. And then lastly, there are some changes with regards to weighting, but a little bit more about that a little bit later. Let's then quickly look at the changes to assessment. The most dramatic thing that happened here is actually the dramatic reduction in activities that make up a task. As you know, we previously had tasks that consisted of many activities, but the teachers reminded us those are not 5 activities in that task. Those are actually 5 tasks. So what we did, especially with the intermediate phase, you will notice that in CAPS there were 40 activities altogether that made up those 8 tasks, and we reduced it. In amended CAPS, it became 13. We reduced it to 13 activities. With revised ATPs 21 to 23, it became 9 activities. And now with the recovery ATPs, it's 9. Meaning that those activities were reduced from 40 to 9. And we responded to the call from teachers to reduce tasks. With the senior phase, almost the same. 17 activities with CAPS, and you can see there with recovery ATPs, we reduced it now to only 10 activities. The same scenario prevails with technical, occupational, and vocational. They previously had 16 tasks. It has been reduced to 5 tasks, 1 oral task, 1 response to text, 1 writing, transactional writing task, 1 oral task, and 1 response to text task. In total, therefore, we reduced the 16 tasks to 5 tasks to be administered in the 4 terms. With South African Sign Language, there was no major changes, so I think we can continue. With the school-based assessments, as you can clearly see for grades 4 and 5, there are 9 tasks only. The description of the task, we've made it uniform across all grades. The mark allocations are given there. There is a link between the mark for a particular task and the weighting that we attach to that particular task. In total, therefore, for the intermediate phase, that's grade 4 and 5 and grade 6, there are 9 tasks which could be broken down as follows. 2 oral tasks, 1 in semester 1, 1 in semester 2. There are 2 transactional tasks, 1 in term 2 and 1 in term 4. There are 2 creative writing tasks, 1 essay to be done in term 1 and 1 creative writing task done within the context of the creative writing project in term 3. Then of significance is that we have 3 response to text tasks because those are reading tasks, and the rationale why we have more reading tasks is that we are still having a challenge with regards to reading countrywide. The difference between intermediate phase and senior phase is just that in the senior phase we have in total 10 tasks because in addition to the 9 tasks in term 3, we do a literature test where all 4 genres plus poetry is examined in term 3. Then just in terms of the weightings for intermediate phase, school-based assessment carries a weighting of 80% and control test is weighted at 20%, and then in the case of the senior phase, school-based assessment is weighted at 60% and exams, full-scale exams in the case of senior phase is weighted at 40%. Colleagues, let's take another break, and then after the break, we shall then bring this presentation to a conclusion. I thank you most sincerely.